I believe we're live, so I guess here's the show. Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and I hope everyone is good today.
Can't
Doing
complain.
okay.
Can't complain at all.
Now, I am just going to make sure that I can't hear myself in the other thing, so I'm not like kind of repeating myself. First and foremost, we have a couple news items today. If we have enough time, we'll be going through the final divisions. If not, we'll save that for basically the week before training camp starts. So where do we start? I guess there's a lot of Koloko news. People were not satiated with the Koloko update that I gave last time, so we will go more in depth because there is much more news. I think that the best place to start here is first to ask how you guys are doing. So, Beyond, how are you? And Coach, how are you? And then we're going to get right into Doug Smith's article.
I'm good, man. I can't. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Okay. Oh. Beyond, you're being told that you are lagging a bit, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
We're going to work through the technical difficulties as much as possible. Coach, how are you?
I'm good, man. I was at a car show today, and then I heard the news come in about Koloko,
Oh, okay.
with the new news, which we will talk about. But doing well.
Was it an outdoor car show?
It was, yeah. Lots of muscle cars, like from like the '60s and '70s and '80s, stuff like that. It was cool.
Were things flying at half mast or full mast in terms of the flags? I'm just. I figured I'd ask.
Yeah. Don't think they changed once something news came in. But
for sure. Now that's enough silliness for me to jump into it. Let's just cover, the true news, and then we'll get into what happened today. So the basics of it is really Doug Smith did an article. He wrote an article that was a news article. He was asked specifically. And someone, I believe, Will, and I'm not sure if Will Smith in the chat is Will from the from Twitter, but Will shared this with me originally. So shout out to Will. So the question was basically, is there any word on Christian Coloco's comeback journey, and if Toronto is basically a possibility, and if so, along, basically they're questioning his fit with Chomchi. Now I'll say, if Koloko, hypothetically, now that we're in the future, if he was able to come back, he would fit really well next to Chomchi, assuming that Chomchi was able to develop along and stuff like that. I do believe that Koloko, if he was on this team, he would have to spend some G League time because you're getting back up to game speed and he hasn't really played in a while. And you're probably going to see that on the Lakers. He will have minutes on the Lakers, but he does need to get up to game speed.
Aren't you bearing the lead a little bit?
Yeah,
Dude, people may not know what just happened with Koloko today.
That's true. But I will. Well, I'll get to what Doug Smith responded. He went through a whole bunch of things with his response, but the most important thing is he said, and quote, "Everyone needs to move on from Koloko." That was just like boom. As far as I know, he's not cleared to return. Well, that is just changed because he is cleared to return as of today, according to Shams. If he is, there's no spot for him here, and there's no point. And at no point have I ever heard that he wants to come back to the team that cut him 2 years ago.
But
It's a non-starter.
That was last week, though. To be fair, Doug Smith, wasn't that earlier in the week or something like that?
It was earlier in the week.
Oh yeah.
Now that started out being very interesting, and Will already kind of got to some of it, and welcome Blackhawk. Nice to see you as well.
Nice. Blackhawk, the party is here. That's good.
Yeah, it's definitely here. Yeah, thanks, Matt. We're actually just kind of catching up on the news, because people from the last episode were wondering, why is the Koloko segment only like very, very short? So, essentially today, what we learned is, Koloko is not only healthy and well enough to return to play, as deemed by the NBA Fitness and Play program, and he's been cleared. But of course, he is a clutch client, and the Lakers were front runners in their effort to get him, and they got their man. And so this is an interesting point in terms of the Olynyk and backup center situation. But before we get into that, your guys' thoughts on Koloko. Beyond, I'll start with you, and then I'll go to Coach.
Well,
What do you think about Koloko going to the Lakers?
let me give the context in this case here. I've always been, Koloko's been my guy from day one from college. I wanted him drafted. I was very happy when we got him the draft that year. I think when we did a preview last year when Darko came on board, we saw him as a possibility of being like a poor man's Triple J. He could be using that type of same role coming from Darko coming from Memphis. I think he's the one player, quite honestly, if he was healthy, up to speed, could give you a discernible jump in wins. That's how impactful I thought he could be if he's at it once he got back to like full strength. I said it online. I not in this case here, I did not see the rumors yesterday, so I know some people are giving grief about. Oh my gosh, I saw it the next day. Yeah, I have a life, people. I like to do different things,
That's some people.
I don't follow
I'm not gonna go there.
The off season every waking moment to see what they're doing. I like to do other things.
Not everyone has the time to run a 12-hour space on the Raptors every single day. But
so I get up in the morning, I see the item. I'm not sure you or Kia posted. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, what are we talking about here?
It was Kia actually. So
so I want to get props from who I saw it from. I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? And I put on my little, May screed or whatever the case may be. But I wanted to make sure in this case here, there was no doubt how I felt about the nonsense that's come out about this whole situation. Because this was mismanagement from the top to the bottom from the beginning. All right? Because if you're looking at this team here, I said to you guys the last time we spoke online or offline about this, I said, okay, if you had your choice of all this stuff that's going on here, would you prefer to have Koloko on the team or X player? I think we got to about 5 guys before we got to say, okay, maybe if you had this guy versus Koloko, maybe you would keep that guy. But we had a bunch of dudes on this team in this case that we had no interest in playing that would not be here. Like all these old timers in this case, like Garrett Temple, Otto Porter Jr., Thad Young. Like, what the hell are we doing with these dudes? And yet somehow none of them we couldn't find space, to make room supposedly for what Oren was saying. None of them were disposable. We had to keep 3 of them and dump Koloko. Like think this through for a second, people. Think this through. I got more to say, but I'll give it to Coach because there's more nonsense where this came from.
So before we get to Coach, I wanted to say 2 quick things. Sorry, Coach, to cut in. But Matt, just so you know, I'm just reading the quote directly from Doug Smith's article. So I agree. He was cut last year. This is just Doug Smith's article. And then when I'm reading someone's article, I'm going to read it directly. But speaking of timelines, I do think it's important to ask the question. I'm going to ask you guys, how many months was Otto Porter here before we get into Koloko?
What do you mean, as far as how many seasons he
let's say seasons. I'm just wondering if you're under the 18-month timeline, because if he was here,
he was expiring contract.
So it was within 18 months, because I asked because there, parental leave is a thing, and I'm just saying he was here for that amount of time. I'm just gonna put that out there.
You're getting their law degree on our dime. Like, are you serious?
True. That is a real thing. Coach, I'm gonna go back to you and stop being silly. Your thoughts on Koloko?
Well, it was very sad to hear. Like you, I'm a big Koloko fan. You were the one, I remember a couple of years ago, you kind of led me to him a little bit during draft time. Yeah. And then I remember I had a couple of guys in that draft range, and Koloko was one of them because of his skill set that he offered this team. And we just came off of playing the Philadelphia 76ers without anybody over 6'9", and to have someone actually 7 feet tall who can rim protect. It was intriguing for a skill set. And he was Pac-12 Player of the Year. Usually those guys have quite a bit of success in the NBA after you win that award. And, he just showed enough for me in his first 10 or so games when Nurse was starting him at center that he's going to be a player. He's going to be able to contribute, potentially be a starting center for years to come. You know, the way that he's able to recover on defense, switch on the perimeter. He was showing a jump shot towards the end of it, which was pretty scary to see. And truly, he was a first-round talent that slipped in the draft, and we got him at 32nd. So to hear that we lost this talent and we acquired Jordan Wara and Kyra Lewis Jr., and we dropped Koloko to make room for these two. Kyra Lewis didn't even show up for the team, he didn't make the team.
He was on the G League, to be fair.
He was on the G. I get that.
But he was recovering from his I believe he tore his I want to say Achilles, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, and Jordan Wara.
Sorry, Nora?
These guys that coach is talking about, they've been signed yet?
Jordan Wara's in Europe.
I was going to say they're on vacation.
That's my
Don't know about Kyra Lewis, but Jordan Wara's in Europe.
Yeah,
we brought back
Nora's in Europe. It ain't good for the Lewis family. Just put it that way.
Yeah, and Garrett Temple re-signed him, and we kept Thad Young. And I remember we exercised his contract last year to be on the team for last season until they waived him. So it's just, quite frankly, it's been a mess, top down. This team has been mismanaged the last couple of years. It's not to comment on their success beforehand, but you know, this has been a continued trend with this front office about some of these moves that have come back to bite them, even Delano Banton to a degree. I remember Darko sitting there at the press conference and how excited he was for Delano Banton, and he was gone. And then we saw some fair amount of success in Portland.
Well, I'd be coach. That entire press conference was the equivalent of the Red Wedding. You know, there was no one that was there. There's literally no one from that press conference who was in that front row that is here on the team. There's no Koloko, Ron Harper Jr., Delano Banton, Joe Wieskamp, like Jeff Doughton.
I know.
All right.
Like,
if it was me, I would not have shown up.
It's like, yeah. You know, but no, I mean, it's hindsight is 2020. And with
reminds me of D.L. Hughley. Why didn't you call me at home?
With blood clots, though, I get it. It's difficult because Bosch had them, but he couldn't come back. Brandon Ingram worked through him. He came back.
Yeah.
So
okay, coach. Let me kind of give let me push this back to you in this sense. That last point you made with the blood clots is difficult. Mm-hmm. Were we going anywhere as a team that we didn't have the time to see where it would go to?
No, nowhere.
Right. We're not a team that's on the cusp of like getting the playoffs. Like Orlando, like becoming a team that's moving forward. We're not on the cusp of trying to win a championship, like be an team like Minnesota. Year. Right, we're not in that position. So what's our rush?
Yeah. This is the thing that I want to get into eventually, and that's why I think the center rotation, touching on it at some point is going to be interesting, because again, we're like, it feels like there's this push and pull amongst the ethos, we'll say, that some people want us to really, really, really like be good right away. And I don't think that these things they normally don't work out that way. When the front office themselves is telling you, I mean, if you're the ones that are trusting Masai, trust Masai. Masai is saying 2 to 3 years, right? We haven't even finished a whole year. So at some point there's that factor too. If if you're in that camp. But yeah, really quickly, I just want to get through. Do you mind if we get through a couple comments real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with Will's last comment.
Yes. Yes. So there's, I will just go, first of all, this was really interesting. So yes, I do believe there is a number of front offices throughout the league, but particularly the Raptors have not had the best luck with people who are on guaranteed deals that count against the cap and are clutch clients. We have not had the best luck. Fred VanVleet, I'm taking this a little bit from Beyond because Beyond reminded me Nurse, which I forgot about. OG, Gary says hello. There's a lot of people that were clutch clients that are no longer here. They're no longer with us right now. And so, yeah, I think that that's something to keep in mind, because the relationships that you have as a front office with agents can sometimes hamper your ability to do things. What do you know? I do
So,
understand a little bit of the politics and and business of basketball.
so can you, you think it's a wise idea to be having a very I guess let's put it this way. I'll be kind. A cool relationship with the most powerful agency in the league
It's not ideal.
Okay,
It's
just
certainly not ideal. At the end of the day, the agents rule this league more than the really sometimes even the players in some cases. But yeah,
Well, no, literally, Rich Paul told every single team, "Do not take Bronny James."
yes,
yeah.
yes.
There you go. Agencies
Um,
do rule.
moving along, something is up. Koloko signed a two-way deal for the Lakers. Was there even a contract offer from Masai? And I'm going to couple this with something that I saw from Blackhawk where he said you'd have to get rid of Garrett. Garrett wouldn't have been the one that had to go. It would have been Bruno Fernando, who is on a non-guarantee contract. That's just really it. We typically aren't a team like the last buyout was someone left for free. And that was Vazenkov. And we waited that one out.
We're
And
still fighting that one, man. We're still fighting that one.
Yes, barely.
We're still fighting that one.
Yes. And so at some point, it would have. There's, maybe you don't like Garrett Temple, but it probably would have been the non-guarantee just from a financial standpoint. That's just the one that makes the most sense. You know, it is interesting though, to Logical Raptor Fanatics point, just going back to it really quickly, is maybe Masai wanted 2+ years. I mean, you would think that Koloko would come here because we do have room under the tax line to give him a minimum deal. So that is quite interesting.
Well, it's interesting too because if he was offered a deal like a club deal with the Raptors, like a guaranteed deal, and he took a two-way deal with the Lakers, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing this out hypothetically. If that is the case, that's just more. That's what does that say about us? What does that say about their trust? What they saw with Pascal Siakam?
No, that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. I get that, but it's
is this Zazu?
So let me get this straight here. We already have it seems like a frosty relationship with Clutch, right? Who's DeRozan's agent again? He's another big wig. Who we have over there?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I was just cracking up.
Who's DeRozan's agent again?
I don't. Isn't it Bill? No, it's not Bill Duffy.
Aaron Goodwin, right?
Yes.
I think it's him.
It's the same. It's Dame's.
Yes, agent. That's the right point I'm getting at. How did that work out in this case here?
Well, that deal was nixed the last minute.
Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't giving a good word in this case here for the Toronto market in this case.
But beyond, you weren't in on the conversation. You don't know.
I just had to be there for anything in this case here. Because how would we learn anything in this case in this world unless we're actually within the four walls that happened in? I don't know. I guess all this time news was just pretty much been fabricated since the beginning of time. When they're doing
fake news. Alternative facts.
You mean Portland, which going to take Gary Trent and Precious Achua for Damian Lillard?
Oh, that's right. They had seen Gary before.
Yeah. Well, I saw that. Not even OG.
So we have a frosty relationship. He's like with Clutch, and Aaron Goodwin is already pissed off with us already. Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Continue, sir.
Yeah, continue, sir, Governor. So yeah. Sorry, the blood clot. Who said the blood clot's not real? Unless you're talking about the Jamaican version of the word. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little confused here. But yeah, no, the blood clotting was definitely real. There were some people that were speculating here and there and everywhere. I will say this right now: don't speculate on people's health. Shame on Shams for doing a little bit of that and putting the guy's business out there in the first place. So that was bad. I was not impressed by that. But just in general, you just got to be careful about reporting on these things and talking about these things, because some people were trying to assume this and that. And I had certain commentators bringing it into a racial side of things, and I'm like, you just got to be very mindful of these things.
Yes.
So that is my PSA of the day: is just be careful, people, about talking about people's health. It's their business, and so yeah. Yes, I did hear about this, Will. So that was definitely interesting to hear, and it's good to see that he's progressing. So at the end of the day, most importantly, I'm happy about Koloko,
Oh, for sure.
and
This is
welcome Jericho.
yes, absolutely.
Coach, you were saying.
No, I mean, I think I saw some people on Twitter really being upset. Like, how could Koloko do this? First of all, the young man is healthy. That's the main thing. And two, you know what? If he wants to go play with the Lakers, there is an opportunity to play with one of the greatest players of all time. You get to play with Anthony Davis. We know he's like OG. He plays 60 games a year, maybe. So Koloko has a chance to get all kinds of time playing with the Lakers. And I think his
Davis
trainers
doesn't
in
even want
LA
to play
too.
center.
There you go.
But
Cloak actually a good fit for the Lakers. I'll say that.
I think so too, because I think even if Davis does play center, when there's not, I think defensively there won't be as much of a drop off once Koloko gets up to speed, because he can play a very similar defensive style as AD. And so with second unit guys, I think that it's going to be a great pickup for them.
So okay, here's a question for you guys. If you were to pick the perfect team for Koloko, who would you have picked? Any team in the league, including the Raptors. Just curious.
He fits on a lot of teams, quite frankly, that skill set.
Honestly, if I think about it, I have two teams in mind. One from the East and one from the West. I think
so. Will says the Spurs, by the way. I have a different team.
I have a different team. I think I know the team you're going to pick. I'm going to pick them right now. OKC.
No.
Oh, okay. And the other team I had possibly was the Knicks.
We talked about the Knicks before. So yeah, Coach.
I don't know if I have one right off the top of my head. I could see him with Boston, quite frankly. Porzingis is hurt all the time, so you throw Koloko in there or play him next to each other.
I know he's good fit.
Well, especially with someone retiring.
In the West, oddly enough, I actually do think the Lakers are a terrific fit for him.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you get your opposing team, you got to deal with Koloko and Anthony Davis, just menacing on defense on the perimeter or at the rim.
If Koloko, towers.
If Koloko gets healthy and he continues to get reps and develops with those two, oh my goodness, they could do some real damage defensively.
So my pick is the Pelicans.
Yeah, I see
their center rotation is one dude, which is Tice and Misi. That's it.
Eves is a little younger Koloko, I would say.
True.
Similar skill set.
But that's all they have.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as much more. I don't see it.
You think that they're going to play Eves?
No, my point is that I think in Eves in the same spot in some ways as Koloko. And I think this is going to be a very, because when on the offensive end, the team that they have right now, I'm Misi or Koloko kind of gums the works up right now. Because if you look at the team they have, most times that they're out there, BI is no deep threat. Zion is no deep threat. The spacing is going to be kind of crazy. And CJ is not a natural quote-unquote point guard that can just get him the ball throwing alley-oops. So on offense, it gums up the works. That's what I'm saying. I like defensively, in some ways, yeah, I get it. Offensively, not so much. That's why I would want to look for, me personally, I would look for Koloko to be around a strong point guard. That's why I like the Knicks, Brunson. SGA can snake in this case and throw in blobs in this case. Yeah. I like that too. So that's the reason why I picked those two teams. Because on offense, it gets dicey in New Orleans with him. That's my opinion on it. That's the reason why. Defensively, I think he fits almost anywhere. But offensively, that's where it gets a little. I think he could gum up the works.
I'm thinking from an OKC standpoint and a Spurs standpoint, just because people have mentioned them, it'd be interesting because him next to Chet or Wemby would be menacing as well. But I think the Lakers is a perfect destination. He'll get reps. He'll get real reps. He'll get a chance. He'll get minutes. He'll get some spotlight. He's a clutch client, so they'll try to take care of him. Look, shout out to KCP.
We saw LeBron throwing lobs up for Wyndon Gabriel. Okay, you think Koloko can't manage that? Like,
if he can't, there's a problem.
Right. So like it was like winning Gabriel had a nice Olympics. I'm not knocking it.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
saying.
Yeah, no, him playing with LeBron James, like the amount of attention that he gets during a game, that opens up not only the floor for Anthony Davis, but if Koloko gets those reps, it gets and starts to develop more. Man, he might have some easy baskets along the way coming at him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. So yeah, I mean, beyond that, to go back to what you were saying, beyond, there seems to be apprehension to paint this in particular ways. Is this a good move? Is this a good move for the Raptors to not have been hungrier for this? Now, personally, I think see, Coach, you have a fan.
Keen.
That's Key. Oh, shout out, Coach.
I'm assuming it's you, Key.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, where was I? I think in terms of where we're at, I think you can honestly say that, yeah, this is not ideal, because if everyone was hyping it up, I just want him to be healthy, frankly. But if you were one of those that was like hyping it up and there's all this relationship, you have to recognize that maybe just maybe the relationship wasn't or isn't what people thought it was. And you might have to rethink those things moving forward. I don't know if you guys want to chime in there.
Coach?
As you be on, I'm laughing right now. I'm laughing at some of the comments. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think that's where you kind of elaborate on my multiple posts this morning, is that this situation didn't have to go down this way. It really didn't. If you first, I have to ask the insights for the Raptors in this case, because I'm gonna have to sit myself like, the Raptors treated this as if this dude was going to be gone for like indefinitely for like years on end, like a Bosch situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is it that you misread this so badly that within 4 months the dude was like pretty much ready to go back and get tested and say, can I come back to the league?
Wasn't he at Summer League and they were like shaking hands type of a thing with him? Like, you would think that they would.
Right. Like, and this goes back to my point initially. What's your rush? You're playing guys like Jordan Nwora. Okay, like you were playing, you're playing.
Well, you know what I said, right? I said we didn't cut Kyra Lewis. We cut him for Kyra Lewis, flip Kyra Lewis with Otto to get Kelly, but also Ochai. A man's playing Summer League in his third season at 24 years old. Ochai, like, still can't hit a jump shot for a 6'4" guard, and this is what we're talking about. This is why we had to move Koloko off. Really. There's about half a dozen guys on last year's roster that I would take Koloko one leg right now for those dudes. I would wait to eternity before I worried about any of those dudes in their futures. And as I told you guys then, and told many folks there on the X, the Twitter, wherever the hell they're talking about, I said it already from then. How many of these dudes are going to be in the league in 2 years' time? Right? Well, not many.
You said that 3 years ago, but Ken Burchard, some of them.
Right,
Coach, you could have went back 4 years ago. I tested this out with someone, in a space the other day. I said, how many of these dudes, and I said, like, how many of these dudes were on a guaranteed multi-year contract? I don't care if it's minimum or not. And it's like, is Doughton on a guaranteed contract? I think he might be one of the only ones left. Man. Look, Svi signed. Svi.
I'm gonna have to get real serious with Raptor fans on this. Man. I'm sorry, man. Folks, man, you gotta get it together for this season. Seriously, enough of the caping for a bunch of bench warmers. Enough. Okay, I had to sit through and listen to folks. I gotta go sit around and listen to folks about Jeff Doughton. I like Jeff Doughton. Nice dude. Are we kidding me? Malachi Flynn. A guy right now, we know if he's playing for the Shanghai Sharks right now.
No, he's at Spurs. Hey, he's on a non-guaranteed contract.
Non-guaranteed. He's pretty much got 1 foot out the door. Okay, like, spare me. Spare me with this. Precious Achua, the next coming. That dude here was like about 8 weeks before he actually got picked up. Someone had pity on him. He's like, okay, fine. I'll throw you a few scraps. Come back here and warm this bench. Like,
I
what
love
the hell?
Tibbs, by the way.
And there were folks literally telling us we were out of our minds in this
Yeah.
case here about he was the future. Like, like he was the coming.
I
Like he
just
was the
remember
one.
reading that he was the next coming of Jason Kidd.
Right, he was the coming, the one. He was the Matrix. He was Neo. That's what folks are trying to tell me.
The
And
hub.
now this dude here next year sitting beside the coach. And I'm sitting here, are you people crazy? Like, this is what I'm talking about, man. Like, seriously. Like, we have some serious hard talks here, folks, man. Let's get it together for this season, man. Because if I got sitting around here in game 10 and some other bench dude that we're talking about this year, and someone's going to keep up about him, and he should be some type of like superstar in this case here again. Let's not go down this road again. Please, let's not.
So I'll say this to Logical Raptors question or comment. The whole getting into the two-way or not, there were other places for him that he probably could have went to, and there's reasons why he went to that place. I'm not gonna go and speculate why him here versus there. If Masai wanted him, they could have offered him, and honestly, a minimum deal is nothing. I mean, heck, we gave away a biannual exception for a dude that we just tossed away into a deal just a couple months ago.
You know who's a team I thought would be in the running? Phoenix. What the hell were they doing?
Yeah, they're in a tough spot because of the whole. I mean, he's not a buyout, so
No.
but because they've had to like cut costs, they're at that point, right? Because remember, they cut Nasir Little for no one.
They really are in a bad shape, man. Because he would have been the ideal type of guy for them.
This dude retired. Yes.
Well, this whole deal, though, like we traded Goran Dragic and what turned into be Malachi Branham for Thad Young, Drew Eubanks, who we waived, who was the one I was excited about in the deal because I knew he could play a bit, and what turned into Christian Koloko, and now that deal is done.
It was done? You sure about it?
Well, technically it's done, but that's what this big deal turned out to be. This is where I felt that this was the start.
Right.
Post Tampa. I'm saying post Tampa, but this was the start of just a few deals that have just been poorly mismanaged.
Okay. So let's get to it. Hopefully they're dancing around here like a ballerina. Let's get.
Well, I just want to know if so. Have we picked is there a direction? Have we picked a direction yet?
God, I hope so.
He knows where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I know where you're going with it. I'll put it to you this way: the direction we picked for us this season, I suspect. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. The direction will be picked for us this season.
So we're past concepts of a plan. I just wanted to. I'm just asking the questions.
Boy, I had down the bingo card. Let me take a drink. Look, man, look. Like,
you're just cracking up.
Look, when it's all said and done, the league will make the decision for us. Let's put it that way. I suspect. Okay. And that was funnier a couple of weeks ago when the NBA schedule came. They showed the first 12 games of the Raptors, and folks found Jesus real quick, boy. That day.
that was really funny.
It's like, welcome to the club, folks. Play your room.
Again, this is the funny thing is that people are saying like, "Oh, we're not taking." It ain't about taking, people.
No,
it's not about taking. No, we're not taking. No, they're not going to go to Scotty and all those people. Yeah, shout out to Coach. It feels like it's Canada Day in his world. With the flag.
Flags are pretty cool,
They're pretty cool. But I mean, at the end of the day, like. I mean, I'm not going to say what Key said, but yes, straight up, it's not a tank job. It's just that there's teams that are better than us, flat out. It's just I can't put it any other way.
I like that,
and that's okay. With you go into this season and you see what you have, and maybe they outperform those things. Maybe they do really well. Maybe to I don't know, insert. Raptor fan person's name on Twitter or X or whatever the heck it is. Woo, we got 47 wins or something. I don't know, right? Sure, let's play that for a second, but the reality is that that would be shocking. And so if you look through the standings and everyone thinks realistically that the West is going to be better. If you're in the East, even if you make the play-in and you're out of the play-in, you are now bumped down in a positive way for lottery odds than you would have been otherwise. So realistically, you could be the 10th seed, just to give people some sort of comfort and warm blanket. You can be the 10th seed in the East and still end up with an 8 to 10 pick.
Well, the question comes down to this, right? This is what it all comes down to. Do you think, and I'll just make it simple for this case, do you think barbecue is good enough in this case to grow to become a team as them as the core to be a team that could challenge for a title? If you think so, you don't care in this case here. You're on the road, you're on the right path, and we're good to go. However, if you don't think that's the case, you think you need another year of seasoning. That's what it comes down to. And that's what it comes down to with the fan base. And who has faith in this troika and who doesn't have faith in this troika?
I mean, throughout the years, and Coach, I'm going to get you to chime in on this as well. Throughout the years, if you look at who makes the playoffs, or even in some cases the play-in, you need to be around a 15th overall offense and defense, close to that. So if you're way down in one of those areas, or you could be better. If you're way down in one of those areas, it's really tough. So the real question comes, can you field because I don't know if the offense based on the talent is going to be a top 10 offense. Can you at least have a top 10 or top 12 defense this year? Coach, I'll start with you.
No. No.
Okay.
No.
I thought you were going to give me some sort of hope.
No. I mean, look, we were 27th last year in defense, and kind of what Will just said. Not with this assistant coach, that's for sure. Defensive coach for Charlotte and Washington.
You're a man, Coach.
No, it's just we just gotta be realistic with this. But rebuilding is not. It's just a reality right now of this team. It's not to say that they're tanking. No one honestly thinks that this team is not purposely tanking. We just have to come to our senses that maybe they're just not where you want them to be yet from a talent perspective. Because
we also have to see
you need to add significant more talent if you're going to compete in the top 6 in a couple of years, and you just don't have enough yet. And that's just a reality. It's not like to say, "Oh, let's be bad and go for the flag this year." I'm kind of joke when I say that, but you need to add a significant talent moving forward.
Not me.
I just think it's funny because to me, if I want, let's talk about it from a let's put different hats on and say, I'm now, a super fan of Scotty, and I think Scotty's going to be an MVP next year, right? Okay. Here's the thing. Routinely, we've always said we need to get some help for these guys. Wouldn't you want Scotty to get help?
Yeah.
See, this is the part where the relationship and the dynamics come into play, right? Because quite honestly, if I'm just being honest, Scotty hasn't established himself yet as, quote, the guy for folks that want to refer to it as that. And when you're in this delicate scenario like this, you have to find out what the squad you have to find out if he can be that. Now, if you introduce some other elements into this, say via a trade for some big name player, dynamics start playing out when that big name player comes here, because not all big name players are going to play nice in the sandbox. And some big name players might look there at Sky's like, "You're a nice guy, but you ain't that dude. I'm going to go in here and do my thing." And that's where things get very dangerous for franchises, where you got to be very careful.
Yeah, like I agree with you. This is where I push back, and this is where, and I'm not just putting a hat on, I'm saying I think he'll have an opportunity to prove himself this year, but that's what this year is about. You have to see what you have. And this addresses directly this type of comment. It's not just black and white. Was it worth growing? Yeah, it was worth growing, but that's where we're at right now. We're growing, right? We're not there. Mm-hmm. There's a difference.
We're starting on ground level, folks. We're at ground level right now.
We just strapped into the roller coaster, and we're still going up that first, hill at Wonderland. And just waiting for that anticipation. And to be honest, as I say to people, this is the fun times. I'm actually excited about the season because I want to see what we have. I want to know what does Scotty have, how have these guys grown, what does Jacoby look like with with more reps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that there's definitely a lot here. We didn't talk about this because this is actually I can't read the comments, but like I think the interesting thing is that like now Kelly as a backup center is becoming more and more a potential reality with this team.
Lord mercy.
How
So
does that make you feel?
going back to your comments a little earlier, right? When you asked the question about could this be a top 15 defense and offense? Well, if you got Kelly Olynyk playing backup center, that ain't gonna happen for the defense. I guarantee you that.
You're like
You're
like Chuck.
That's if he's playing
that,
backup center. If he's playing backup center, it's going to be this.
What's that flag doing up there again?
Yeah, exactly. He says we don't have a lockup wing. No, we don't. Flat out, we don't. Now Scotty can grow into that, but like ideally, like Scotty's best skill right now on defense is as a roamer. So Darko did say he wants to be the defensive player of the year, and so he's gonna have to prove himself. But then also you're asking him to be a number one option for the first time in his life, and be trying to go for a defensive player of the year. That's really tough for a fourth year player. So I do expect some growth, but also like I don't know if that's doing that all this year is putting him in a position to succeed. Their best center. Oh yeah, well yeah, okay. I don't. He's not wrong. Pirtle is the best.
I don't think he's
defender.
Good defensively.
I think he's smart in terms of how he positions himself on defense. But yeah, there are definitely games where he's getting shredded.
Yeah,
well, there's limitations. Sorry,
yes.
Yeah, like I mean, when it's all said and done, my theory of Pirtle's a backup center at this point. He cannot play 30 minutes a game. If he does, he eventually gets broken down. And even if he plays 30 minutes a game, he ends up being a liability on both sides of the court. So, like, I don't know why everyone thinks that Pirtle's this great savior. I've watched Pirtle. I've seen Yads. I know what I'm getting.
I think the challenge is that, and this is what I say with Pirtle, is as impactful as he can be at times, there not only are there limitations, but number one, with the game winding down, if he gets into a hacky yak type situation, you're in trouble, number one. And number two, he's typically struggling to play 25 or more minutes a night without getting injured. Usually when we went through it in spaces with Sean. I don't know if Sean's here or not, but anytime that they've ramped him up, even on the Spurs, I think 1 year he played 31 minutes. He was more injured. So
yeah,
injuries is not an ideal thing for this team.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at and cutting through is like, listen, if you had to go list all the centers of the league, starters or backups, he's not one of the 30 best centers in the league.
I don't think I'd have to go through it, but possibly
you had backups on some teams that are better centers than him. Last year, Hartenstein was a backup. He was a better center than Pirtle. Period.
Damn.
Al Horford playing center is a better backup center than Pirtle.
Not gonna lie, Al Horford, even not in his prime, he's a nice player.
That's what I'm saying, right? So you just go down the list of guys, right? My boy's out in Dallas, Gafford, Lively technically was the backup. Lively is a better center than Pirtle.
I'm not sure if I would put him 30th. I think that's a little low without going through the whole list.
There. You're gonna have 20 guys that are starters for sure, probably better than him. I bet you can find probably 10 backups in the league in this case. Like, oh yeah, I just gave you 3 just now off the top of my head.
I'll put it this way: are there players that I would take? Like, would I take Naz Reid on this team over?
There's another one
over.
Got 4
over Pirtle, probably, and I'm sure that coach would too. Yes, I know.
I would probably put Pirtle in that 18 to 25 range.
But you would take Naz Reid over him, right?
It depends on the team.
On this team,
would Naz Reid be a better fit on this team? Yes, because he's a spacing big. Yeah.
So I put it this way, but yeah, I don't, like you said, 18 or whatever. I think that's where I put him. Really quick, I don't want to turn this into a trade show, but Key brought up some trades. So would you trade for Wiggins? First of all, rest in peace to his father. Um, I am gonna have to say no on this because I think that number one, I think I'm not sure if he moved his family to the States or not, but it seems like he's dealing with a lot right now. And I've even heard him he might be looking beyond basketball right now. And I think it's best if he focuses on that rather than trying to focus on a trade or trying to play for the Raptors or all the sorts of stuff that comes with playing in this market. Lou Dort, that ship has sailed. And if Presti is smart, I'm going to say that Presti knows where his bread is buttered, and that is with Lou Dort's bud in that team, which is Shea. Coach, your thoughts on Dylan Brooks?
Well, I think any deal involving Brooks or Dort or Wiggins is Bruce Brown. You have to with that, make the money work and stuff like that. So I would love to have Andrew Wiggins over Bruce Brown, but I know the money is kind of wonky. They don't want to commit that much money long term. Dylan Brooks, well, he's the only player that the Noah board seems to work for in the NBA. So I'm sure he would shoot 45% probably from three. And Lou Dort, hey man, I love Dort and FIBA basketball. I think he's just got to be on the right team with his skill set. Is that us? Maybe I take him over Bruce Brown. I feel like I'm just ripping on Bruce Brown. I just don't like his fit on this team, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's just what it comes down to. It's just the wrong team for Bruce Brown to thrive. You were going to say something beyond.
No, I'm just saying that the Wiggins, I agree with you wholeheartedly about Wiggins. I think right now Wiggins needs to be in a certain space, and he's just not there. And hopefully he has the time to get away to kind of get his head in the right spot, and that's understandable. But more of the avatar of Wiggins that's the type of trade I'm talking about. So be if it's BI or Wiggins or your man here that everyone kind of forgets, Zach LaVine, those type of players are, in my mind, could be very disastrous for the type of team we have. You don't want that type of scenario playing out because there's no shortcuts, folks. We're going to have to find out what Barnes can do this year and find out what these guys can do. There's no shortcuts.
Well, especially if the whole point was to build around him, to get someone like to address the Brandon Ingram point, to get a Brandon Ingram right now, when the whole point was you move. This is according to Scotty fans. This is according to even the front office that we're building around Scotty. We're getting IQ to build around. Fair enough. Then you have to build around him, or at least see what you have, at least for a year.
Yeah, like everyone talks big about, this is Scotty's team, or building around Scotty, but yet at the same time, every time we turn around, somebody's actually looking to try to find some way to shortcut the process.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Like, listen, man, this is the Buckleys you all wanted. You wanted this medicine last year, so sit back, enjoy the Buckleys. You might have to go, pretty much, skin your face up a little bit.
People, but yeah,
exactly. But when it's all said and done, the Buckley's gonna make you feel better later on. But you have to take the Buckleys right now, man.
Exactly. Sometimes if we drink enough Buckleys this year, maybe we'll have an ace on our club. I don't know.
Yeah,
Key, that was for you. I saw what you wrote, and I was like, I agree.
Oh god,
this man came with props today. This is a special show.
Man.
Oh my god.
Bruce for Dylan, I would do as well, but the problem is I just don't see Houston doing that. I think that they have bigger ambitions, and they are waiting on Phoenix to make a move. If Phoenix blows up, or maybe I've heard a little birdies all around saying about Jimmy Butler, and that makes sense for that team and where they're at and what they're trying to do. And they do have a $44 million expiring player.
Yes, that's what I was chuckling about.
Yes. So yeah. So something about Booker. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about getting Booker. I'm talking about Houston Key. So yeah, and then Will made a good point about Levine and them blowing up the team. Yeah, I did hear about that. There were some interesting moves that they could have made, but by the time they made it, it was unfortunately late. So yeah, I too do believe that you can constructively criticize the front office, and also acknowledge that they have done some good things for the community and whatnot. Yes, of course.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we also have
Are you gonna kiss some babies after this too? Like, my goodness.
hey, like I was told that there might be an opening, so I got my LinkedIn ready, and they said if you think that you could do better and stuff like that, if you're gonna critique Masai, then you have to be ready to apply. So I guess I'm ready to
Yeah,
apply.
great.
Apparently,
That's a bunch of nonsense, man. Listen, when it's all said and done, man, this dude's had to now. We're now living on year 4. I will give 2020 in this case bubble year as the last good year in this case here. So now
Yeah.
we're moving on to year 4 now.
yes,
And we have, you asked a question just 5 minutes ago. Do we
Yeah.
have a direction? This should be something where we're waiting 4 years now to figure out if we have a direction.
because like everyone, we started making the Siakam trade. They're like, great, we can rebuild, and then literally by the end of the year, based on the results, people were like, all right, we're ready to go for it. Like we can go get like Zach LaVine. It's like, okay.
Well, one
What
thing the CBA is
last
showing,
time I
though,
checked, we didn't end the year really well.
right? But the CBA is definitely showing which type of players are ones that in this case are not going to be long for these big contracts anymore. If you're
Yeah.
a one-dimensional player, and say like you say in this case you're a chucker, for example, and trying to put a cast aspersion on anybody, but you don't play much
Like Cam
defense.
Thomas.
I'm just saying, those type of guys coming in the future,
I've got
they're not getting a lot of money. If you're just a guy who shoots 3-pointers and can do nothing else, you too will not be getting a ton of money. Those guys aren't going to get a lot of money.
Key, I'm glad you're saying that the front office is is cheap.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, Gary could have been had. We had money for Gary. So yeah, I just think sorry, I'm just gonna go through these things really quickly. I'm gonna ask you guys, do you think we have enough time to run through the Pacific and Atlantic, or do you want to wait for that to
No,
you want to do that
out, man. Because let's face it, the East, the Atlantic shouldn't be. The Atlantic will be interesting. The Pacific, yeah, let's do it, man. We could get.
Well, we could do one. We could save the Atlantic for next week, and we could do.
I mean, it's up to you. I think I'm game.
Okay, Coach, you have the time.
I get the time, but just before we move on with this, because we're talking about the front office, we have a pipeline now, which is good. I'll admit that's a positive moving forward, because we've had one for a very long time, since before 2020, basically. If we had a pipeline, having all those picks this year with Shed, with Mobo, I know Grady's probably going to start, but I still consider him a young player. Shamshay, who, yes, I'm relatively high on him, but I try to be very patient with him too. He's just learning basketball over the last couple of years, but he is talented for sure. So it's just good to see some prospects in the pipeline, and I think they'll probably view Shamshay the way they viewed Koloko. They probably want to hope that he becomes something like that. I think Shamshay might have more offensive upside. There's potential there, because I think there's a jump shot with him. Not to say Koloko started to develop it a little bit, but I do. You're willing to take a gamble at 57 to get Shamshay to see what he is in 2 years when he's 20. It's very young, but I think it's just good to see, because quite frankly, for a couple of years, we did not see that pipeline. It was bad, because you traded so many picks away from the Kawhi Leonard deal, the Thad Young deal, the Jakob Poeltl deal. There's a theme of dealing with the Spurs deal. We're help building their dynasty deal. Yeah.
Yes.
No more dealing with RC Buford, please.
Shout out to the Spurs, by the way. Beyond, your thoughts on Chomchi and well, you know what? We should talk about Chomchi, Mobo, and whoever else may play minor center minutes.
Carlson.
Yes, Carlson. Yeah,
your guy, Beyond.
Yeah. Honestly, of the three, I kind of hope Carlson gets a shot first, to be honest with you. I don't see Mobo as a center. I know people were like to try and make him a center. He's not a center, people. Like he's just not going to be a center in this league. I mean,
I think that's a injury concern if he's playing center at his size.
Like, he literally played like a game and a half of summer league, and he already got hurt. That is a little bit like eyebrow raising a little bit. A little bit. We'll see. It might be nothing, but it's like, oh, and he's already playing a front court position then, against summer league guys. We'll see. It might be nothing. But like when it's all said and done, like I don't see him as that, man. I think that this is where we get ourselves in trouble all the time, putting guys in positions that they just aren't meant to be in. So I would prefer to see Carlson get a shot. And John Shee, as you said before, is probably a couple years out. So we'll see.
Yes, Fran Fischella. He is 2 years away from being 2 years away.
Oh, I thought I could slip that one past you. Okay.
Legit. He's not like he's the 20th pick of the draft. He's 57th, and he's 18.
You're on your game today, Coach, man. I thought I could slip that one past you.
He's here all week, folks. I think I just want people to be patient with this team. That's it. Be patient with this team and enjoy. Like to logical Raptors fans' point, like yes, you have to create the value and all this kind of stuff. You have to be patient to do that, and that takes more than a season. You can't always be pulling rabbits out of a hat. Eventually, you're out of either rabbits or hats.
Yeah.
I tell you one thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, like I just go by what Masai said in that press conference after they traded Siakam. They said the rebuilding is going to take 3 to 6 years. He said hopefully it doesn't take 5 or 6 years, and I agree. I think you have 3 years at max to see what you have. But when you're a market like Toronto, you're not Miami, you're not LA, you're not New York. You have to kind of act like OKC or Orlando. You're that type of market, even though you're a big market. But the how we get success basically is through the draft and trades. So that's why this year's draft is important. That's why 2026 draft is important and moving forward. And then you can make some trades. The only good part is with free agency is if a Canadian comes up, because I think you'll be in the running for some of the Canadian players.
Yeah, but I don't want to be going. Well, it's that ship's already sailed with Murray, but like I wouldn't have wanted to go for Murray anyways.
No.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But there are a couple. For example, Brandon Clark in I think 2 years' time. I think. And then there's a couple other guys that are coming up. So it's we'll have some flexibility, as they like to say. As we evaluate this moving forward.
Flexibility and evaluate. Oh, you're on your.
Hey, Beyond asked if I'm running for office. I'm
you're
already
running for
there.
office for the Raptors. Clearly, when you're talking about evaluation and flexibility.
Please no, though. Logical Raptors points out that basically we have the extra 2026. The extra second. I don't know. Do we have an extra second this year? We don't have our own second this year. We only actually have the Portland second, which is a good second to have.
Which is good.
Yeah. But we don't have our own second. So we actually traded to have a normal draft, basically. We will have our own pick. We have all our picks moving forward, which is good because our second is still owed to San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken.
I just will say one thing. Masai Ujiri, you pulled a rabbit out of a hat with that Jalen McDaniels trade. Kudos. Well done. That's the second best trade since Kawhi Leonard, by far.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very, very good, it was a trade made of circumstance. So I'm just going to say that. That's not to take anything away from Masai, but he saw something and he pounced on it. We should actually talk about Bruce Brown deals in a second. But, so I think to Raptors fanatics point, I'll say Raps fan until Raps fan comes in because that's another person. I will say this. It's good to have that available to them, and this is why you got to make use of it. What people have forgotten is what made us a good team, what made us able to go for the moves that we were able to go for was doing the hard work first, the development, taking the time, building this team. We're not quite at the point of where Kyle was and where DeMar was. We're in a bit of a different situation right now, but that's okay. And I think we will be good. But Davion Mitchell was a decent pickup. Yeah, of course he was. I think But you have to figure out. He's another one where on this team you have to figure out what he is this year. So he has to get minutes. You have to see where he fits, and then you have to make a decision really quick. And in the past, we've made decisions on guys like Malachi Flynn and others waiting way too long to make that decision, and we don't have that time. Ochai is another example where I don't know where he's fitting in this year, but you got to figure that out real quick. Where was I going with this? We were talking. We were going to not about Malachi.
You want to talk Bruce? You want to talk Bruce Brown?
Bruce Brown. Okay. Wonder if Ochai gets an extension. I mean, he's a year away from it. So the real question is, do they opt into the team option or not? We do know that his father knows Masai, so maybe I won't say that Freudian slip, but we'll see is what I'll say. It depends on next offseason. Because, contracts are coming up with multiple people at multiple levels in the organization. Bruce Brown. So the difficulty of Bruce Brown, because everyone says that Bruce Brown's going to get traded, is there are limited spots to trade him to. There's limited spots, and a lot of teams are very, very, very expensive. And once they get to a certain expense level, with the NBA as it's currently constructed, you can't make those deals. It just won't let you, because you have to aggregate enough salary through picking up different players to get to that level. So if you're the Lakers, maybe that's why they got Koloko on a two-way. It's like there's one real option available because they're below the apron. But for other teams, we'll see. Knowing that Masai didn't help, again, Nora didn't know his father, or Nora's father didn't know Masai. So it's a bit of a much deeper relationship. But yeah, I just don't see a lot of Bruce Brown destinations. There's really only a couple things. And I keep saying this, but I think Chris Boucher is actually the one that's easier to move just financially. I know Logical Raptors fanatic is a big finance person, so he would definitely know that as well. The Lakers are against the second apron. Yeah, but they're still under the second apron, so they can make the move. Once you're over the second apron, different story. So I've been talking for too long. It's hard to trade Boucher. Bruce Brown isn't going to take. Yeah, you might have to take garbage in return. Your guys' thoughts on what I've said so far, and then we'll see if we have enough time to grind out the rest, or we can leave the rest for another day.
I mean, like what Will just said just now is really what we've put ourselves into, right? This is what goes back to mismanagement from the management team. We have players on here we really don't want, but because we're in a defensive position with what we had to deal with when it comes to trades, we are now on the back foot with so many guys that we really don't want. Right? I mean, you talk about the Ochai question. I'm sitting myself here is like, okay, how many legitimate spots for playing time are we going to have by the time this year is done? All right? So if you consider RJ a guard, quickly a guard, Grady a guard, Walter a guard, if Shed actually cracks the thing, that's going to be for the future, guard.
Davion.
If we decide to sign him.
Because again, you have to figure out what Davion is now.
Yeah, but I'm just looking future, like past this season. Those are
do you think Davion's going to be part of the future?
I don't know. I don't think it's a guarantee he's going to be part of the future, because I assume Shed's going to take that spot at some point.
Right. If he can learn how to shoot. Whoever learns how to shoot first basically gets the spot.
Exactly, right? Like how much better Shed has to shoot better than Davion Mitchell to get the spot. That's what I'm saying. It's not that much of a reach. So like, and so I'm sitting there going like, where is Ochai? Like, why am I worried about Ochai? At best, he's like the 6th or 7th guard on the team. That means you're sitting beside the coach. So why am I even worried about re-signing you?
But this roster makeup too, though, we're still a very small team. We have a bunch of small guards. We have a bunch of small wings, and Pirtle is 7 foot, but our bigs aren't really.
But that's why, Coach, I moved RJ to a guard, because I'm hoping that in the future you have more front court play in this case, and you slide back to a more natural position.
Yeah.
Right. This is part of it. This is a big part of it, is that it's tough when you're in a certain place and you don't want to get egg on your face, you make moves like keeping Bruce Brown.
Right. Exactly. Right. Like, they're always playing from a position of weakness when it comes to leverage. Right. Like technically Boucher's got 2 years left on his deal.
No, he's an expiring.
He's expiring.
So last year was the year you should trade him. Again, we're back to another guy on an expiring deal, having to trade him this year. Is definitely listen. What's the old saying?
And they're not playing him. That's part of the problem. So the only guy that has any sort of championship level experience, you've sunk his value, to Coach's point.
At some point, folks, it's not a bug; it's a feature. Okay.
Yeah.
We can't keep going down this road and think, "Oh, it just happened this way." No, this is like the fifth dude we're talking about on an expiring deal. Where he's going to walk, or we have to trade him for pretty much crumbs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't keep looking at this management team and think that what they're doing is like just happenstance. No, they're doing this on purpose.
I agree.
No one else in the league's doing that. Anyways, that's my 2 cents with it, because it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, Bruce Brown move, to your point, Kenyon, is tough. I've been a fan of Cam Johnson. I think Brooklyn is really going to try to tank very hard this year, and they'll probably be somewhat open about it, because I think they're going to be worse than us, and they will definitely be in the Cooper Flag Ace Bailey sweepstakes. They might be like, oh, we'll take Bruce Brown's contract because we could be a free agent destination that get us off Cam Johnson's contract. I do see that potentially, but I can see them being like, well, we also want to pick, and if you want to pick, no, we're not. You're not going to do that. But also to Bruce Brown, I think Masai is holding out for 2025 first for Bruce Brown. I think that's what he wants. And if you're a team in the NBA, don't give that to him.
I also think.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, like, I think that's what he wants.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
But what I'm saying is, Coach, is that what's he snorting? Because the 2025 pick is literally the most valuable asset in the NBA going today. And he thinks Bruce Brown's going to give you that? Like, what are you joking? Like, well, this is what I'm talking about. A guy's 27, 28 years old, can't shoot at 6'4" in this case here, and making $23 million. He thinks he's going to get a first-round pick for this year? Come on. Like, what are we? Go ahead. He did
have this, but so to Will's point, he did have a first that was potentially on the table, but we didn't want Grimes, who people were really, really high on Grimes, and I mean, he got buried in Detroit. So
well, now he's with the Mavericks now.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So that tells you a lot, in my opinion. I think that was probably the right decision, in my opinion. Not doing that. Also, from what I heard, they wanted a 2024. The Knicks were going to give another 2024 pick, which again goes back to your point. What's the value of these picks in each year? They differ per year. You could say that they're not valuable as people that you have data on. Fair enough, right? But each year to year has some sort of evaluation attached to it.
Well, that's the reason why I laugh when people made the Siakam deal. Hey, we got 3 picks in this draft. It's like, that's like people putting out their junk at a yard sale. Ain't no one care about that guy.
And then we flipped him because right after, what did they say? They're like, we don't plan on taking X amount of picks. And they went and traded for the picks. So
yeah,
we do interesting things.
The biggest trade trip they gave at the time was the 2026 pick. Get everyone news the 2024 draft is whatever. Jordan Nwora, he's in Europe. Bruce Brown, well, nobody wants him. That 2026 pick is, I don't know if it's going to be this 2025 draft, but it's going to be better than 2024 draft.
Yeah, there's at least the Boozer twins in it, and AJ. Yeah, so there's quite a number. We're on this channel on Basketball Rewind. We're certainly going to be covering the prospects this year for sure. I'm not going to say we're going to cover it from week 1, but we will be talking throughout the year about the different prospects. Yes.
You want to get these divisions?
I think it's getting late. That's why, and I'm feeling for Coach.
No, don't worry about it. Go for it. I ain't doing nothing.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to.
You know what? Let's we'll ask the. Yeah, there's a bit of me that wants to wait. I'll ask the audience. Does the audience care if we do you guys want to talk more about the Raptors? Do you think that you could talk about the Raptors for another hour?
We're basically asking, will Blackhawk
Do you want to
logical
talk about the
Raptors
Raptors, or do you want to talk
fanatic?
about the division and
Okay, you know what? Let's make it easy. Let's just tie a bow around the Raptors stuff, okay? Because there's a lot
Yes.
of other elements to this we can kind of just grind out in this case. Because when it's all said and done, now we know what this team's going to look like.
Yes.
Okay?
I don't think
now,
I don't expect any
Yeah.
Damian Lillard trades to our to our team this year right now.
Now we got Pelican trades coming out with the blue all of a sudden. So, like, hold your horses. That might not be done just yet. Oh, boy. I tell you.
That's a save your job trade. That's Rudy Gay trade. That's what that is.
You don't say, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. Even if you're getting Ingram, how do you even get him? Not to mention the fit thing is going to be weird because, like you were saying before, like he doesn't play defense, and he's a bit similar to RJ. Those of you who do not like the DeMar DeRozan shot diet, he kind of has a lot of long twos. So I mean, he's a good player, but I don't know how he fits specifically on our team, and he wants a max. And I thought that people said that we were cheap.
Well, are we just keep so what? The idea is there's only two ways this can go. If you were to trade him, you're either trying to give him the max, or two, you want to have that cap space open for free agency. We're a free agent player.
No, we're not a free agent. We'd have to trade for him.
So what's the purpose for the trade then?
Well, and here's the thing. To Will's point, they're going to ask for some sort of prospect, which is a no thank you to me.
Right. Like, Grady, come on down.
Yeah. I don't think we're at the point where we should be trading our prospects.
Yeah.
I know some people want to, but yeah.
I would look at giving them Bruce Brown and Boucher, 2 expirings for another expiring. Because I think that's how low Ingram's value is right now for whatever reason. I actually like Brandon Ingram. I do see a fit, but do this right. Don't do this half-ass and become a mediocre team for the next couple of years. Do it right.
So, Coach, you would do the
right
deal?
way. No, absolutely
okay.
not. I'm just saying I can kind of see a bit of the fit on offense. He can get his own offense as well. You're going to need a 25 plus point per game scorer eventually moving forward. And I'm not saying that has to be Ingram. That might be someone you draft and develop, or that's someone on the team right now that develops.
You can't imagine Koloko not sign. See, so this brings up another thing. I find it very interesting,
Right.
because we saw this with Gary, where some people are, and I'm not saying that Bill is upset, but I remember seeing some people say, "How dare Gary, not give a nicer shout out to the front office?" And it's like what the man, to your point, beyond, the man did charity work when he thought that he was going to get traded. He was literally doing charity work for the city. What more do you want from this man? What more do you want from these people? So at some point, and I don't think that's what he's saying. I think it's more of the shock of, these guys not coming back. But it's just, I do find it interesting that people sometimes forget the players. Now for, again, I'm not trying to blast Bill. I think Bill actually meant it in a good way, but I've seen on the timeline that people sometimes do that.
But let's explore that for a second. What Bill is saying. Let's explore that for a second.
All right, I'll leave it up on the screen.
there's a pattern in this case here with this team, and now people don't like to talk about this. The underbelly of this, but let's call it what it is. This team has not treated players well. Okay. Yep. So when they leave here and you're wondering what happened, he was one of my favorite guys. Why is he leaving? Kind of just like in the night, in this case here, quietly. Because guys, in this case, whatever the case may be, this franchise is proven. We have documentation. We have reports stating so. All right, that this franchise does not treat a lot of players that great, especially when they don't get their own way from a contractual situation. It's one of those things like you do things our way, and if it doesn't work out that way, screw you. I'm going to be playing Mean Girl with you for the rest of the year. That's
we've done
pretty
that
much
a
what
number of times under the regime. We do play hardball in terms of those things. Now, whether it's because of MLSC and Rogers or what, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're dealing with people, and there's a people component to this, and it's a people relationship business. That's the truth of the NBA. Whether you're a
it's always
coach
been.
or a GM, the people matter, and how you manage those relationships is a big, section of that job.
That's what Pop says.
Yeah, does he actually?
Well,
Yeah,
Pop says it's not even so much about X's and O's in the league; it's about
Oh,
relationships. Yep,
relationships.
shout out to Bob.
it's what it's
Right?
always
So,
about, especially with professional athletes.
yeah,
Yep.
when people say so, we wonder in this case here, if you're looking from the Koloko perspective, a guy he admired from the time and from his own town, I believe in this case, gets treated like that. And then literally, I'm not saying it's a coincidence, but I thought it was a day after the Siakam trade. Didn't Koloko then get pretty much cut? They happened within the same
Yep.
week, I think. Right? Now,
He was, because remember, at the
it's
presser,
for the deal. Right. It's
the
for
presser,
the deal.
and he didn't even mention Koloko.
No.
Actually,
Right.
until someone brought it up, and he's like, "Oh, actually, yeah, sorry, we had to do that too."
Right. So, like, you're Koloko, I'm
brother.
saying, like, what the hell? Like, it's like, you give up on me already? Like, these are the type of things people think about. It's like, from the athlete's perspective, you're like, what? Wait 1 second. I've done everything you asked me to do. You moved me up and down my rookie year, back and forth, and I did like a good soldier, did what I was supposed to do. Unfortunate thing happened to me. The moment it does in this case here, that's it. Like people see those type of things. It's like, oh, this is how we do people. Okay.
Yeah.
You
go where you have an opportunity to essentially, because this is someone's livelihood, where you can make your bread, feed your family, all those type of things, which is important. That's what it comes down to. And there's a respect factor, and also from the outside looking in from other players, they look at your franchise and see how you treat your players essentially. And again, people want to blame MLSC, have at her, but at the end of the day, whether it falls on Masai or not, it falls on Masai. The buck stops here, as a former president used to say. Way back in the day.
Right, like that's when it comes to him, and we've seen it once again. We see patterns again of all these kind of fallouts. In this case, where it doesn't, when it gets left sour. Now, the DeRozan one's the most famous one, fair enough. But I don't really. I mean, my only case with Masai is that you just gotta be a little more. He doesn't have to tell him that he's gonna trade him.
But, but you don't want to do like a dog and pony show with the dude either.
Exactly, right? But
it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna build around him, and then the next week is like packing his bags. Someone's getting the chain after a game, and then all of a sudden they're calling that. Like, why did they give Dennis Schroeder the chain? Okay, it's just disrespectful, right? You can't be doing that to people.
Yeah, it's just poor. You're managing, you're working out contract with Gary. Gary's think he's coming this season, he's gonna be started. In the back, in this case here, you're already awarding a starting position to Schroeder. That guy's pissed.
Yeah.
Now Blackhawk does say, "Do the deal, do the deal." Here's the thing: we do a lot of. Yeah, he's talking about the Ingram deal, I think, or he wanted
Blackhawk. Are you kidding me?
I think here's the thing. Again, this goes back to exactly what I was just talking about. There's a relationship component, but there's also like chemistry and how people fit on the court and what you're trying to figure out. You spent the past 2 years, not you specifically, but like people complaining about how Pascal Siakam and Fred were taking away from Scotty, and suddenly you're going to put a star who is a ball dominant star who is going to take away.
And a worse player than Siakam.
Yes. And even if you think that they are similar or he's better, he is much more injury prone. How do you think that plays out?
I can't wait for the first time in this case where RJ's vexed. In this case, this guy's getting like 6 more shots. Looking forward to those days.
It adds, and unless you're shipping out RJ, which most Raptors fans would probably say they wouldn't want to do that, and it's giving up too much. And then just for a coach's point with Cam Johnson, I think Cam Johnson would be a great fit here. The sad thing would be is that I think we can be outbid.
Oh yeah.
Other thing too is like, I don't know. I mean, unless you know,
we can't trade our pick this year. Stepien rule. We traded our pick last year to the Spurs.
Well, the other thing too is like, even if you get him, for example,
unless you're going to get picked.
Well, if you get say a particular type of player, who knows what it might be, could be an ace in the hole, or you're raising the flag, wherever the case may be. All I'm saying is that those dudes played the same position as Cam Johnson last time I checked. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's the other thing too. So, yeah. Koloko was not treated bad. No one said that he was necessarily treated badly in that conventional way, but there's nuance here.
Yeah.
I just think Koloko was at Summer League last year when we all thought he was going to play, and we had the health scare come up for him. But when he was around, who wasn't around Summer League because he was in rumors all the time, so he didn't show up.
I think the thing is
Pascal,
right. And I think that you're hitting on air coaches like, and it's not necessarily like, oh, they're out here, they're out here like making them lousy food or something like that. It's cruelly that. I think
we're not like come on now. This is what I mean. We're being set because like when you're playing with people's, it's yes, we paid them out the money. We understand that. We covered it on this channel.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome. But at the same time, there is when you come into the league that young, you want opportunities. So how did they treat him badly? Well, we talked about it. Nick Nurse and Masai kind of playing, checkers and whatever and chess with guys on the roster. You start the guy 1 week and then you don't see him until the end of the season. When you finally start playing him, okay, I'm going to go, keep in mind, they drafted a center. I'm going to go trade for a center. I'm going to go trade it for Pirtle. Does that make sense?
He was used as a pawn between their little war. And a few other guys were too. Right? Banton was probably the worst example of it. That dude scored 30 one night and never seen again. Why do you think Banton left? And don't give me the excuse like, hometown guys, so you're distracting. Give me a break with that. That got nothing to do with it, man. People smell when you're a disorganized bunch. Okay.
And also, if you're gonna pull that, I'll say the same thing that people try to pull. You weren't on there in the conversation.
Right.
Well, CJ McCollum, what's his role in the Players Association, vice president or something?
That dude is an interesting dude. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
He came up publicly and said, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on there in Toronto." It's like, how does he know about this?
He needs to not. He needs to not. CJ.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do a couple more comments and then we'll probably get out of here real quick. He wasn't treated bad, but after exactly. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, right now, if you're looking and you're seeing the Raptors and then you're seeing other teams, I mean, we already named a couple other teams. There's better opportunities for him.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lakers are not a bad opportunity.
Nope.
I think what's also done, it's like when you look at where you're working in this case and you're saying your employer in this case looks like they don't know what they're doing, you go look for another opportunity.
Just simple as that.
Let's not overthink this, folks. Just think about your own situation. If you're a dysfunctional workplace, you're going to start dusting off the old resume.
And Miami did the same to Bosch. Miami, I think that's a completely different situation. So I'm not even going to touch that. Last time I checked, Koloko didn't win a championship with us.
Well, if I recall, I think they waited a lot longer for Bosch to find out if he could come back. It was a full year.
That's true. They also did hold on to him for an entire year. So I mean, that's a self-defeating argument there.
So he came out with doctors and said you couldn't play. He's like, all right, there wasn't there looking to trade him.
Yes, exactly. So
again, I'm not contract before he get all this diagnosed with the blood clots.
Again, how you treat the player, exactly right.
Yeah, just before he got it, and they honored it. I think.
I think what we're getting at is like you look at certain organizations, and we've talked about this a little bit, not online actually, but Bob Myers is a perfect example. And Matt, I'm not trying to give you or really anyone a hard time. I'm just kind of responding to the comments. But Bob Myers paid everyone before he left.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He paid Klay Thompson when Klay Thompson was on one leg, literally, and made sure that he was good. He made sure every single person was paid and kept them together. And at some point, maybe not, we're not there now, but we do have to get to that point. And in the future, these are lessons to be learned, whether by this front office or again, I don't know what Pele's relationship is with Masai or otherwise, but I do know that Masai has a new boss, and his contract is coming up soon. So we'll see. If it's not by him, someone needs to learn this lesson, whether it's Bobby, whether it's anyone. It's a good lesson to learn for the future in terms of establishing a culture. This is why, the retiring of the Vince Carter jersey is important for that culture, right? This is why eventually having, DeMar, as he keeps, as Raptor fans get mad at DeMar pining about being traded, they're forgetting one important thing is that he wants to be here. That's someone who will give back to the city again and again and again. And you want that in your city and you want that in your organization, because some of the best organizations have players as a part of their developmental staff, coaching staff, and otherwise.
And it's ironic that we don't.
We don't. Yeah, because Cat is no longer there, I believe. So yeah.
No, we don't. We don't have any ties to any players, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, it is. So with that being said, I guess it's a good point to say like, comment, and subscribe, please, and thank you. I hope you enjoyed this so far. Coach and beyond, are you guys ready to get out of here? I guess there's one last comment that's trickled through. Same, we traded not quite the same, but yeah, there's a point in that. Yes. I know that there was the whole thing with the ring, because didn't Valanciunas want a ring?
Yeah, I think he wanted a ring, but they didn't give it to him.
Right, yeah.
There you go.
Right. You give the guy a ring. Is that really?
What? Good point, Matt. Very good point. And it's a business, guys. This is a point that I really want. It is a business, but part of business is how you treat people. That's good business. Right? Exactly. You don't want to be like, there's certain people that are in real estate and they don't pay their developers and they don't pay the people that work for them. Beyond knows where I'm getting with this. I'm not going to go all the way there, but yeah. And when you get to that point, you develop that sort of relationship where you don't pay people and you don't take care of people. It comes back to bite you. And again, when you're talking about business, a lot of business is networking and relationships.
Yep.
Really, really important.
It always comes off as a pettiness with this franchise. So be it if it's the ring, some of the things that have leaked out in this case in reports of how they treated Siakam, to you name it, right? To the Gary stuff. It always comes off feeling petty with them. And then you wonder when guys just leave and say, "It's been fun, guys. I'm out."
And for what it's worth, well, yeah, I did actually hear this, Will. I did actually hear this. I'm interested to see, I think Jalen Rose will definitely come up and a couple others. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun season, honestly. Just how they're doing the presentation as well. See, this is always funny. Masai was too loyal to Pascal, Fred VanVleet, and Lowry. You're forgetting someone. OG. OG was someone that they were too faithful to. I think that's a much more complex topic. You could say that, but also you could say that he also didn't get them the best help that they wanted. When they needed a center, they got Thad for starters. When they couldn't play their bench, and the bench could barely buy 5 minutes. And yeah, this is the truth. They only did trade OG because at some point the relationship was done and he was over.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Shocking. He also wanted $40 million too, which
honestly,
is
that's the only way he was going to stay. It's like, you either have to give me my money, give me my role that I want, right?
And the Knicks were crazy enough to do it. Sorry, Beyond, go on.
No, I'm just saying, if you look at the guys he mentioned in this case here, and then add OG to it. In some ways, OG's the one's giving the least to this franchise.
Yeah.
That's just facts.
Well, I mean, if you're talking specifically about a championship year, that's what I'm saying. If you're talking specifically about the championship year, he was there during the season, but he wasn't there for the playoff run, unfortunately. It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
But the fact is,
he wasn't there.
Contributions to this franchise, he's fourth on that list.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, it's tough.
But
we did lose a good player, though.
Yeah, but yet they wanted to keep him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the challenge is that, again, people saw OG as a number 2 option, but when you go to the Knicks with Randall out, and before they got Mikal Bridges, he was a number 4 option behind Josh Hart and Hartenstein.
I'm still, quite honestly, I'm still shocked they got as much for OG as they did. Like his value around the league must have been quite high to get RJ
Oh
Barrett
yeah,
and Emmanuel Quickly and a pick. I'm
yeah.
not even counting Precious Achua or Malachi Flynn.
Remember, it
No, they're
was
just
higher
throw-ins.
though, Coach,
Oh, I know it was
in
higher,
the
but just
past, because there was they could have had Shaden Sharp, Nasir Little, and potentially Simons and other stuff.
And
yeah,
Josh Hart.
And sorry, and yes, Josh Hart. Sorry.
yeah. But it's still unbelievable to me how high his value was. I see some of the comments how he does fit an archetype that some
That's
teams need.
interesting. That's an interesting point. Would you prefer that deal up to now, or the deal we end up getting in New York?
Um,
I still want the Portland deal.
at the time,
That's
I would have wanted the Portland deal. I think the New York deal's fine, but the Portland deal would be nice because number one, everyone's clamoring for a Canadian, right? I think Shaden Sharp is an
Portland have a
electrifying
Canadian.
player, and he has the chance to punch up in a way that people like are honestly are looking for. So that would have been an interesting one. We'll see how Shaden Sharp kind of progresses this year. Um, in terms of the yeah, he does fit that. And Blackhawk, yes, this is the point though. Someone does have to be fourth, but he didn't want to be fourth here. He wanted to be second.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that level, and that's okay, but that's the challenge. And Masai sometimes overpays people when he needs to, but then he also gives them short-term contracts, which gives too much flexibility, which is why you get screwed. And so yeah. Anyways, I think rather than going to each individual comment, just because now we're just overlapping things.
And
Yeah,
Mobo is part of that. Sorry, Black. I'm just reading what you said. So
oh,
technically, Jonathan Mobo and RJ and Quickly came back for OG.
was Mobile part of that deal, or was Mobile part of the Indiana deal? Technically,
He was part of the Knicks deal because that was the 31st pick. That they had the first pick in the second round from that Knicks deal because that was Detroit's pick.
where did right? Because they gave 2 picks.
Yep. So
For
technically, it's Mobo, Barrett, and Quickly. So we'll see if Mobo see how that looks.
At the moment, I still think I would take Portland's deal.
Yeah, Gary was offered 14. He wanted, we don't know if he was actually offered that, but I think he was able to have an opportunity here if he wanted it, and I don't think he necessarily wanted it. So yeah. And in terms of this, the DeRozan trade, yes, I do believe so. Yes. All right. I think that's it. Unless you guys want to talk, add anything else to what we've discussed. You can. I think you meant to say you can't pay everyone. They actually have cut back on salary, which is how they made the moves. But there are times to pay teams when you have to. There's times to actually go for players when you have to. Remember, if they were serious, because if the deal was really for Dame, Precious Achua as the main piece going out, you're not serious. And guess what? When you make the playoffs, you make more money. You increase your franchise valuation. Happened here. Happened to the jersey sales go up. You make a lot of money. That TV deal, you're telling me that they can't afford to pay when, I'm sorry, the league is sharing how much money per year? So I'm not buying it. There is a $76 billion deal that we've discussed multiple times on here. It ain't no thing. Blackhawk wants to talk about the draft really quickly about this guy. I would just say this. Number one, we shouldn't be drafting for fit at this point. We should be drafting for whoever is the best player at our pick that's available. If that person is the best guy available, more power to us.
I'm curious to see how he plays for Duke this year, though. This kid, he played fairly well for South Sudan in the Olympics. I think he's just 17 or 18 years old. I think him and Shamshay are around the same age. But if you're somewhere between 7 and 10 in the draft, he wouldn't shock me if he's the best player available there. But like you said, you always top 10 in the draft, you draft the best talent. You don't always think twice about it.
Especially with the position that we're in. Yes. Yeah. Like if you're the Boston Celtics, different story. Different story. We're not the Boston Celtics right now. Best player is Blackhawk. I'd like to see your jump shot, man. You got to post that on Twitter. Uh, yeah, Pat Delaney is back. Shout out to everyone. We did make a switch on the bench. There's someone from I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. So if someone wants to put it um in the comments,
Yeah. An acquaintance of mine is now with the Raptors, actually.
oh, see, so we added. There
Yeah.
you go.
I don't know if he's going to be on the bench or he's going to be in the video room with Mr. Azatam. I think that's his name from the Knicks.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But he is
sharing his account. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, but he is on the staff. I'm not going to say his name, but people probably see coming up.
Yeah. That I don't think that lawsuit has fully sorted itself out yet. But yeah, there is a new 905 coach. I can't remember the guy's name, but he is from Darko staff and he's going down to the 905 to coach 905. So it'll be interesting because Eric Corey is actually joining the bench for now on the big club. So I guess more supervision or whatever, which is good of Eric Corey. So yeah, with that being said, I think that kind of wraps up a good show. We've almost done 2 hours or an hour and a half. Hope people enjoyed it. And yeah, keep coming by. We're going to do occasional shows like this, not all the time, but occasionally. And to Will's point, he's mentioned it a couple times, and I think it's important to mention it. We have Media Day coming up on, I believe, the 30th of September. So that's coming up real quick. Stay tuned. The rest of the month, and Raptors basketball is coming through the entire nation. They'll be playing their usual route. So yeah, everyone enjoy, like, comment, subscribe. People enjoy. We have good conversations here. Sometimes we have good conversations on Twitter, and people stay safe, stay somewhat sane during the season, and enjoy. And the coach is going to be talking more about playing poker, and he is going to be very patriotic while doing so.
Oh, Canada.
Take care, people, and peace.
Peace.